We have Chris Horner on the phone. Chris Horner is a guy who can help us celebrate Green Week like no one can. He is the author of Red Hot Lies, How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. Chris.
Yes.
You saying people that believe in man-made global warming and that we can fix it are misinformed?
They've been subjected to a lie-a-palooza, I have just discovered driving in, listening to the most recent NASA fabrication.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hang on. The most recent one is that this was the hottest month of October in forever or whatever.
Right, since the last hottest October on record. Here's what happened this time.
Okay, this time.
Yeah, this Al Gore advisor named James Hansen, who was muzzled by the Bush administration.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Hold it just a second. He's who advisor for whom?
He's a Gore advisor working for NASA, yeah. But he's not doing a very good job because he's been muzzled by the Bush administration.
Sure.
Only able to give 1,400 interviews to the press, like most everybody else at NASA, right?
Right.
During that period, he was muzzled. And it turns out, if you do a little digging, he said the other George Bush muzzled him, too. Yeah. He has a long and unhappy history with the facts.
Right.
I document in Red Hot Lies how he actually has gone into the historical record, not once but twice, to change history, making older years cooler and more recent years warmer to give a trend.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's wild. Though that's a wild charge to make. Tell me your evidence on that.
Twice. Well, he's acknowledged it under distilled what is an argument because he's been caught. Essentially, these aren't data where he just says, "Well, it's behind the curtain and you can't show it to you." People go back. Usually, it's Canadians doing those jobs Americans won't do. Go and check his numbers, just like what happened this month, and find that he's changed things. And they just
explain what he did this month.
This month, he just carried over September temperatures from some cold weather latitudes in Siberia for October. And we know that September, October, there's no real temperature change in the northern hemisphere. It's like July, August. It's just essentially the same, right? It's not like it's getting colder this point every year. So he just carried over September, or he said somebody else carried over September warm numbers into October when they would have been 10 degrees cooler, giving us, voila, the hottest October on record, just like a bunch of other things he's been caught at. Let me tell you how warm it is. It's so warm that as George W. Bush prepares to leave office, the planet is cooler than when he entered office. Now, does that square with what you've been told during Green Week or other times?
No. Arnold Schwarzenegger said this week that global warming is causing all these fires.
Remember they said that last year. Here's the problem. It's very busy historically. The fire seasons are very busy when it's cold. And it's not typically a busy fire season during warmer periods. And in fact, like I noted, we have been cooling. Do you know how cold? We have lost a third of a degree since Al Gore released his movie. You know his history of bringing ice storms where he goes. The planet has cooled almost a third of a degree since he released that movie. And that wiped out a third of the entire 1 degree increase in the last 150 years that caused the global warming panic.
Unbelievable. Let me ask you this. Is it true that China wants to sell the United States, hang on, gang, if this is true, this is going to make blood shoot out of your eyes. They want to sell us carbon credits that they have gathered because they have aborted children.
Yes. I've documented that. They said it publicly, and Europe and the UN applauded.
Give me what they said. Give me what they said.
China said our carbon footprint would be much larger if it weren't for they called them emission reductions, but they explained that they were actually emission avoidances through their coercive family planning policy, or what you call forced abortions. And their argument was very open, and they said our carbon footprint would be much larger but for this policy. Therefore, we should extrapolate out what it would be, subtract our actual emissions, and sell you the difference in terms of ration coupons or carbon offsets, because Europe, of course, isn't actually reducing emissions. They're just wagging their finger at us and buying indulgences from typically China. But this takes it to a ghastly new level, and the EU and the UN said it was great.
They are performing abortions and selling those carbon emission credits to people like us. It's amazing.
You're 13 months ahead of schedule. They proposed this in Thailand during a Kyoto negotiation for the next treaty because the current one expires. And the U.S. is, of course, to agree to one next December. And if we agree to that, then yes, they will be selling us carbon offsets from abortions.
So not only will our tax dollars here be going for abortions, taxpayer-paid abortions here in this country, we will actually be taking our tax dollars and buying abortions in China so we can feel good about the global warming. That's not happening. Unbelievable. Chris Horner, the name of the book is Red Hot Lies, How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. This guy has it all down. I mean, what did you do before, Chris?
Oh, I was innocently practicing law until a little company called Enron asked me to be Director of Federal Government Relations, and on my first day told me to go meet with the Union of Concerned Scientists because they wanted a global warming treaty. So I wasn't there very long.
Wait. Now I've got to take a break because I have to get the Enron story from you. You kind of left that out. That should be on your business card as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were an attorney, and they hired you to do what?
It was essentially a no-interview job offer to be Director of Federal Government Relations, and that's what law firms do, is send associates into clients. And off I went and was told that my number one priority was to get a global warming treaty. I ran into the Natural Resources Defense Council in Enron's palatial offices in D.C., and then my first or second day on the job, I sat around a table with BP, Niagara Mohawk Power, American Gas Association, and on the other side, Union of Concerned Scientists and other equally measured folks, and I discovered that I was there chairing for Kenny Boyce, who couldn't make it, to discuss. This was in 1997, before there was a Kyoto Protocol, before there was even unanimous Senate instruction to not agree to a Kyoto Protocol. And it amazed me that we were figuring out how to get a Kyoto Protocol. So I came back to my office, sent an email, Houston, we have a problem. Do you have any idea that this group you're chairing is trying to get an energy rationing treaty? And that went over not too well, and they said, we didn't really get around to explaining our business plan to you. We have bought a bunch of companies on the relative cheap that don't really make any money, but boy, one day they will if we get this regime in place. That subsequent internal memos that came out after the unpleasantness were supposed to, quote, be good for Enron stock, 2 exclamation marks, be the biggest boon for Enron other than electricity deregulation. We need to monetize our relationship with the green groups, citing a bunch of green groups and so on.
So then you left after that.
Yeah.
Or you were fired.
Well, some strange things started happening, and 2 secretaries told me I needed to change my computer password, and it turned out I was apparently sending emails to my boss when I wasn't in the office. And anyway, my objections didn't go over too well.
Chris, you have been through this and for a long time. I was in a Wendy's this weekend, and we have 2 minutes here. I was in a Wendy's this weekend, and I was about accosted with a guy. I feel the hatred and the vitriol that is coming from the left is just staggering right now. And with the Al Gore types that say, you're a Holocaust denier if you think any of this. Are you concerned at all? I mean, I've talked to scientists before who have said their careers have been destroyed. Are you afraid that we're entering a new kind of world here?
I'm not thrilled about it. Let me give you a quick 40 seconds of red hot lies. Tom Siegelstadt, the reason I wrote the book, I told them about Greenpeace stealing my trash to smear me in The Guardian and other places at a meeting of scientists from around the world, and Tom Siegelstadt, a professor from the University of Oslo, said, that's strange. When I started speaking out after the pizzas were delivered to my house every night and I wasn't intimidated, the wheels fell off my car, not once but twice, including once when my daughter was in the car. My mechanic said the lugs had been loosened. Tim Ball is Canada's first climate PhD. He gets death threats and has had to call the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The UK Foreign Secretary, Margaret Beckett, publicly demanded that the media stop giving people like me and you airtime because we are, quote, just like Islamic terrorists. In Australia, when Kevin Rudd was elected Prime Minister, the gathering of the best and the brightest that he addressed came out and put forth some great ideas like stripping Australians of their citizenship if they express global warming skepticism. But it wasn't an extreme proposal. They were allowed to reclaim it upon re-education.
Oh, my gosh. Chris, we got to run. The book is Red Hot Lies, How Global Warming Alarmists Use Threats, Fraud, and Deception to Keep You Misinformed. We'll have you on again. Thank you so much for calling. Gang, I was reading the Drudge Report last night. It was at 11:30 last night, and I read it, and I see how there is yet another reporter in Russia that has been killed. I'm sorry. No. He's in critical condition for speaking out. I'm telling you, these are the times. This is what is coming our way if we don't speak out now, if we don't stand together.